No, Kerala had a very profound impact on my life and my perspective towards governance. I was posted as Secretary Tourism, and I used that opportunity to build up Kerala as God's own country and branded and positioned Kerala as one of the 10 exotic paradises in the world. And Kerala
Yes.
tourism moved from a $20 a night destination to a $500 a night destination.
You've done a lot of work with Aadhaar, Bheem, ONDC, but there is a lot more that we can do that would directly open up employment, innovation, and inclusion. What are your views around that?
No, so India's digital public infrastructure has truly revolutionized digital innovation. So platforms like Aadhaar, UPI, DigiLocker form the backbone, and therefore, if you look at it, we do 50% of the fast payments in the world on the mobile. Then we do credit. Young startups like MobiKwik, FindLab, etc. give quick credit on looking at the payment history. Then you have Zerodha through Upstock. Young companies, young startups, which enable you to do stock market transactions in tier 3 cities. Then you have GoDigit and Acco, all of them, which allow insurance to take place. All this happens in India on the mobile, on the go, within 30 to 60 seconds. And that is transformational. This doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. India has achieved in 7 years what would have taken India 50 years to achieve.
The amount of focus on skills, what do you think we need to do as a nation towards skill building, and are we doing enough?
By 2047, India will be providing 30% of the skilled manpower in the world. And India is making very foundational shift in its skilling and education ecosystem. We produce over close to about 3 million STEM graduates every year, but we need to give them the depth required to meet the complex needs of cutting-edge industries.
We'll shift focus to G20 now. One of the integral themes or central themes of the whole presidency was bringing more women into economic and leadership mainstreams.
When women work, earn, and lead, entire nations prosper. There's still much to be done across the world to bring women into economic and leadership mainstream.
A lot is on the shoulders of young individuals, professionals. What message do you have for these young professionals?
Remaining positive, optimistic, and futuristic is very, very good.
1 year ago, I asked a question. What helps you stay relevant when everything around you is shifting? That question became a podcast. That podcast became a platform. And today, Career Shifts turns one. It's a moment to reflect, to reimagine, to ask better questions. Who better to join me than someone who has helped shape not just careers, but future of a nation? Meet Mr. Amitabh Kant, India's G20 Sherpa, former IAS officer 1980 batch, Kerala cadre, former CEO, NITI Aayog, the man behind Incredible India, Startup India, Make in India, and a lot more. I met Mr. Kant first time in 2021, where we had invited him at the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, for a talk on India 2031, a policy series. But this conversation goes far beyond policy. It was about vision and velocity. It was about how digital and green will be India's next big leap. It was about how trust, not just tech, will define India's future, and how young India can take the $4 trillion economy to $30 trillion economy. What I loved the most about today's talk was Mr. Khan's humble beginnings and the bold choices that shaped his journey, how public private partnerships can power national transformation, why AI, skilling, and sustainability are not parallel stories but single urgent mission, and his quiet confidence in India's youth to build what's next. This isn't just a conversation. It's a kind of clarity that we all need when a world is foggy. This one, certainly not to be missed. Let's dive in. Good morning, Mr. Kant. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine, absolutely perfect.
Wonderful. Well, Mr. Kant, this journey began last year for me. Uh, the podcasting part happened to be my way of giving back to the fellow community members and the mid-career professionals on how careers are evolving. So I ran a set of about 27 episodes last year. Started this year with another set, but this year's focus is Journey to the Future. And the reason why this is more important in times like these is with careers evolving the way they are, people are also going through variety of emotions about, is AI going to play a big role? What do I need to do differently? And I'm bringing in voices who have kind of made the linear career look very challenging, but also challenge the career aspects to do different things and yet be relevant. And the focus was relevance. So majority of the people consuming this episode will be people who are mid-career professionals and also young generation, young professionals who would stand to benefit out of your perspectives about various things that we spoke about. And it is in that perspective is where I want to start the conversation today. So my first, question for you, given a life of a civil servant, of course, goes through variety of roles every now and then. So if you look at a span of a life of a civil servant, you go through trainings, you go through multiple rounds of further trainings, and then join the main role, and you continue to grow through that. I wanted to go back in time for you. Um, what led you to choose this career path for yourself? And was there a moment that you kind of reflect upon as you look back now that probably convinced you to take this path?
When I was growing up, there were very few options available. You could either join the government or you could go and work in tea plantations, etc. There was no movement of doing startups or becoming an entrepreneur in India at that point of time. My family largely came from the civil services or the academic world. And when I was studying in St. Stephen's College and Jawaharlal Nehru University, the general atmosphere was of students sitting for the civil services. So while I was doing my MA, I sat for the civil services and I got in the first year. And I think what had motivated and inspired me was that there was a feeling that you could deliver much more in the government, and the scale of transformation that you could do could be quite enormous in terms of making an impact on both the lives of citizens as well as on countries' development. And I was just fortunate to get it.
Sure, sure. Wonderful perspective. You spent a large and a long part of your career at Kerala, which happened to be a significant moment in terms of everything that you did as part of your role. How did that experience shape you? And anything around that initial days that shaped your perspectives on what you will do in the future around Incredible India, the governance, and all of that. If you can spend some time on sharing that perspective.
No, Kerala has had a very profound impact on my life and my perspective towards governance, largely because Kerala demonstrated to me that focus on health, education, nutrition is very critical, and that the physical quality of life index, the human development index, is very important. And it showed to me that uh, the quality of life of citizens is greatly improved if the government lays focus on these basic
Yeah.
indices. I've always believed on working on outcomes in these areas. And for many years, in the initial year of my career, I worked in the fisheries sector of Kerala, where my job was to transform the lives of traditional fishermen and enhance their production and productivity. They live a very tough life, but I was able to bring new crafts, which were fiberglass crafts then, and bring new outboard motors so that they could go much further into the sea and get the new nets, which were then known as the disco nets. And I formed self-help groups of traditional fishermen along the coast of Kerala. And I spent
Mm.
about 4 years in their lives. Uh, Opening their bank account was important because they were prone to drinking, and
Yeah.
it used to take many months chasing bank managers to open their bank accounts. Today, you can do it within 30 seconds using
Yes.
your digital identity.
Yeah.
Also, I introduced buses for fisher women in the district of Trivandrum. From one bus, it's gone up to about 20 buses now where they can keep their fish basket in front. So I played a key role in transforming the lives of traditional fishermen. It was a delight. And then I was collector of a district called Calicut, where Vasco da Gama had landed and discovered India. I could transform the district in terms of removing a large number of encroachments in the heart of the town and create a big breathing lung. I widened the roads of Kerala, of Calicut district, and I was able to create a new private-public partnership airport in Calicut. I developed a new library. I created a new bypass. So I did several things. But then,
Yeah.
after that, I ran into a problem with the then government of the communist government, and I was without a posting for a long time. And as a
Mm.
punishment posting, I was posted as Secretary Tourism. Nobody wanted to be Secretary Tourism at that point of time.
Mm.
And I used that opportunity to build up Kerala as God's own country. And I built up new products like Ayurveda, backwaters,
Mm.
houseboats, and we branded and positioned Kerala as one of the 10 exotic paradises of the world. That's how the National Geographic Traveler termed it. And Kerala
Yes.
tourism moved from a $20 a night destination to a $500 a night destination. It became a very upmarket, high value market. And that's how God's own country was built.
Well, all I can say is incredible. And that takes me to the next question on the story behind Incredible India. Um, I mean, what inspired you to create that entire story of, the campaign, the Incredible India campaign? And what did it teach you about, building national narratives that shape global perspectives? And I think you shared a bit about that in terms of $20 a night to $500 a night and God's own country. But how did that journey start towards Incredible India?
So, actually, the Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee, had come to Kerala, and he'd come to do some writing, and he was there for a week, and I was with him throughout, and I used to take him to the backwaters. We got Ayurveda introduced to him, and one fine day he asked, his principal secretary, Mr. Brajesh Mishra, told him that this boy has done a lot of work in tourism in Kerala. We should get him to Government of India. So Mr. Vajpayee asked me whether I had applied for Government of India, and I said, no, sir, I have not applied. So he said, it's good that you've not applied. If you had applied, Mr. Brajesh Mishra would have posted you to women and child welfare instead of tourism. So we laughed and
Sure.
forgot about it. I applied about 1 year, 3 months later, and I was to go to finance ministry, but when the file went to the prime minister, again I got a call from Mr. Brajesh Mishra that you recall the conversation. You are coming not, you are going not to finance but tourism. So I said, sir, but there's no vacancy. They created a vacancy and brought me to tourism ministry instead. And as
Mm.
soon as I landed, the Twin Tower blast happened in New York. There was a war in Afghanistan. There was attack on our parliament, one after another. There were several crisis moments. And the tourism in India plunged to just about 10% occupancy. And the challenge was to bring back consumer demand. We
Mm.
went to two operators and they said that there was no consumer demand. So even if you buy packages, nobody would come. So we
Mm.
launched a 360-degree campaign, which was print, digital, electronic, which is the Incredible India campaign, which has stood the test of time, and it drove uh, arrival of tourists in a very big way. And the tourism in India just grew and grew and grew. And because of that, we had to build new airports, new airlines came up, and that's how the Incredible India campaign grew. But again, the inspiration of Incredible India was again yoga, Ayurveda, meditation. It was going back to the strengths of India and its civilization. And the tourists of the world are looking uh, for destinations which are very different from other parts of the world. So it was about going back to the roots of India, and that's what defined India in a very unique manner.
I would agree because I remember, and I was in school at that point of time, as you may imagine, and Incredible India had just started showing up on the railway coaches. My mom was in Central Railway, so as whenever we would travel through the second AC chair coaches, we would see Incredible India posted in there, which was, uh, as you speak now, it's a nostalgia for me. So, make in India now. We shift focus to the newer aspects of what we used to do or what you did for the country. You're one of the initial architects for Make in India, and a decade later now, how do you see the evolution? What does the next chapter for Indian manufacturing look like in the digitally AI powered world?
So, when the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, came to power, one of the first things he did was to focus on manufacturing. And his view was that we should focus on Make in India. And
Hmm.
the intention was that in the first presentation that I made to him was that India was very complex. It had too many rules, regulation, procedures. And he said, let's get
Yeah.
rid of them. And that's how we focused on ease of doing business, and over 42,000 compliances were removed and eliminated. 3,800 provisions were decriminalized. We moved towards a more business-friendly environment. The um, truly landmark reforms such as insolvency and bankruptcy code, the goods and services tax, the Jan Vishwas Act, all instilled great investor confidence. So ease of doing business was one aspect. Secondly, was this focus on startups, and we started the Startup India movement along with that, which helped India to transform India into a global hub for young entrepreneurship. And the third was that we laid focus on opening up India for foreign direct investment in a very big way and allow foreign direct investment. So today, 98% of the FDI which comes into the country comes in through the open route without any approval route. And another thing that we focused was on improving the patent and the trademark regime, and that helped us to uh, radically improve. You can today get a patent in much quicker, much faster than you can get in the United States or in Japan. And these were all great initiatives. And later, uh, for instance, if you look at FDI inflows, they've hugely had surged between 2015 and 2024 despite COVID. So they've helped us to, bring in greater capacity, expand our exports. And the last point I want to make is that we structured the production linked incentive scheme, which has been a cornerstone in India's manufacturing transformation. And major sectors, particularly electronics and telecom, pharmaceuticals, automobile, all have benefited. And we've been able to integrate more deeply into global value chains, and we've been able to create numerous jobs and in the manufacturing sector of India. So all this has been critical.
I was in Amsterdam last year, and I was struggling to even make a payment. And everywhere where I went, I had to swipe my card. And one of my colleagues came down to India, and she was just amazed and perhaps even flabbergasted to see the ease at which we make payments through QR codes. And that brings me to the question on the digital public infrastructure. A lot has gone into it, and India has kind of become the country where the world looks up to us in the kind of work that we have done in this space. Now, how do you kind of look at the next leap for us? We've done a lot of work with Aadhaar, Bheem, ONDC, and but there is a lot more that we can do that would directly open up employment, innovation, and inclusion. What are your views around that?
No, so India's digital public infrastructure has truly revolutionized digital innovation because we created the digital public interest layer of 1.4 million people having a digital identity. No other country has it. And on top of
Yeah.
that, we've allowed private sector to innovate. So platforms like Aadhaar, UPI, DigiLocker form the backbone, and then private
Hmm.
players develop specialized applications on top. Uh, this is all open source, open API, globally interoperable, and therefore, if you look at it, we do 50% of the fast payments in the world on the mobile. Then we do credit. Young startups like MobiQuick, PineLab, etc., give quick credit on pay looking at the payment history. Then you have Zerodha, Grow Upstock, young companies, young startups, which enable you to do stock market transactions in tier 3 cities. Then you have GoDigit and ACO, all of them, which allow insurance to take place. All this happens in India on the mobile, on the go, within 30 to 60 seconds. And that is
Yes.
transformation. This doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And this model is now evolving with the integration of AI. It is embedding smart solutions into financial and governance system. And as the Bank of International Settlement has said, that India has achieved in 7 years what would have taken India 50 years to achieve. And secondly, the World Bank in its study has said that India was able to bring down the cost of transaction for acquiring a consumer from $25 to less than 15 cents. And that is why a young company like Reliance Jio could acquire 500 million consumers in a matter of days. Just 10 months' time. This would not have happened anywhere else in the world. So the global significance of India's digital public infrastructure was truly highlighted during the G20 summit.
Yes.
And the principle of this, the framework of this, the definition of this was accepted. And today DPI solutions are being taken all over the world. And DPI solutions, to my mind, have really, really been powerful. They've helped us during Mahakumbh in Prayagraj, the Bhashni
Yeah.
powered book. Uh, Sahayak chatbot provides voice enabled lost and found services, live translations, multilingual support. It's a seamless integration with Indian Railways, UP Police for Mahakumbh, and by combining AI with DPI, we are really making technology inclusive and efficient. So it's been really a remarkable journey for India.
Powerful. You've spoken a lot about complementarity between digital transformation and green growth. How do you see India's capabilities supporting its renewable energy ambitions, and a little bit about multilateral sustainability commitments too?
So, my belief is that digital transformation and green growth are deeply interconnected. They reinforce each other to drive India's renewable energy ambition. They align with global sustainability goals. What we've achieved in digital public infrastructure, including Aadhaar and UPI, has already set benchmark for scalability and inclusion. And these capabilities provide a very strong foundation for enabling clean tech innovation and actually enhancing the adoption of renewable energy solutions. India has also done incredibly well on going green. We are the only country in
Hmm.
the world to have done 200 gigawatt of renewable energy. We achieved our, COP21 target 9 years ahead of schedule. So
Correct.
digital technologies have played a very pivotal role in optimizing energy usage, reducing wastage, integrating renewable energy sources into the grid, and smart grid systems powered by IoT, AI, blockchain are all revolutionizing energy management by ensuring efficiency, reliability, transparency. I mean, to just give you one example, real-time monitoring of energy consumption helps reduce carbon footprints.
Correct.
AI-driven predictive analytics optimizes resource allocation for solar and wind energy projects. And so we as a country are committed to building digital ecosystems, which also extend to fostering innovation in clean tech startups. And we are incentivizing green solutions through digital platforms, and we are really pushing for a greater push for electric mobility, battery storage, energy storage, all of which are essential for India's transition to cleaner energy. And therefore, my view is that India's digital capabilities strengthen our position in a very, very big way to become a green nation. And the collaborative approach, leveraging both digital innovation and green technologies, is essential to address the shared challenge of climate change.
Thank you so much, Mr. Khan. Now, as you share all of that, I think one of the integral questions that uh, we need to, as the nation, even from, and I represent academia through the work that I do, is the amount of focus on skills. What do you think we need to do as a nation towards skill building, and are we doing enough? What can schools do differently? What can academic institutions, management institutions do differently to be able to take that leap towards the ambition that we are taking for the country?
No, this is a very important question, and it's important because by 2047, India will be providing 30% of the skilled manpower to the world. And India is making very foundational shift in its skilling and education ecosystem. Our attempt is to create a globally competitive talent pool. We are focusing on emerging technologies such as AI, quantum computing, semiconductor manufacturing, and to my mind, this is prioritizing innovation-led education and skilling. And our current system, while producing a large number of graduates, we produce over close to about 3 million STEM graduates every year. But we need to give them the depth required to meet the complex needs of cutting-edge industries. Uh, and therefore, we have to make our engineering graduates job ready.
Hmm.
The integration of specialized courses in AI, quantum computing, semiconductor, electric mobility, and then will help us to mainstream education for skilling in a big way. And adding practical modules on advanced technologies such as data management for business analysts on foundation courses in AI, machine learning, cybersecurity will help us to address specific skill shortages. We'll make our people job ready.
Right.
Secondly, I think that India's talent strategy must focus on both uh, domestic development and global integration. We must strengthen
Hmm.
research and innovation, become a more innovative nation. Our R&D spend is very low, and therefore the government has come out with a scheme of 1 lakh crore for
Hmm.
research and development, and another 10,300 crore for India AI mission. And these efforts should lead to greater academia, industry, and government partnership to accelerate technology deployment. This is really critical. And I think with this present disruption due to tariffs across the world, we should
Hmm.
actually attract a lot of our international talent. We should be able to attract distinguished academics from the top 100 global universities for sustained engagements. We should be able to create thousands and thousands of research sabbaticals for academics from the top
Hmm.
200 global universities, which this approach should actually extend beyond STEM fields. We should focus on STEM, but we could also cover arts, design, digital media, and other creative domains that will drive innovation. And this, to my
Hmm.
mind, will help us, India, to become a very innovative country. That, to my mind, is very, very important.
Very well said. And I'm sure people who would listen to this would take the necessary steps towards this. Um, in the last 3 years, especially, I think AI always used to be there, but it's, I think, the the intensity with which AI has changed our lives in the last 3 years, especially after the advent of OpenAI and the equivalence of that, has been incredible. What policy and ecosystem level enablers do you believe are critical for India to take a leadership role in the AI field? Are we doing enough, or there is, of course, a scope to do more?
No, I tell you that AI is cutting edge. It's critical. It will cut across all sectors, and India must emerge as a global leader in AI. And uh, you know, the what's important is that India has about 500,000 engineers, which no other country in the world has.
Yeah,
In the
true.
adoption rate of AI is very high at 92%. On the Microsoft GitHub, you will see that India does incredibly well on AI. And therefore, my view is that if you have to transform key areas like health outcomes, learning outcomes, enhance our agriculture productivity, AI will be the key area for public good. And therefore, we need to demonstrate our great ability to build AI foundational models. And you know why I'm saying AI foundational models are critical, not just the application layers, but foundational models are critical for India. Because in the last few months, there has been a huge amount of disruption, and these are all open sources models.
Correct.
The Stargate initiative was very, very focused on the United States, but it was a very energy consuming, high cost, great computing power focus.
Yeah.
But what DeepSeek demonstrated is that you could achieve more for less. You could achieve
Mm.
with low computing, even with low computing power, with good software, you could excel. And that, to my mind, could be done with open source. Now, India has
Yeah.
always believed in open source. We have the manpower, our adoption rate is high. We should actually
Yeah.
demonstrate that we create many, many foundational layers to transform education, health, nutrition, and that our focus on education, our focus on our health, our focus on nutrition will all be driven by uh, low energy consuming, very high efficiency but low cost artificial intelligence, which will transform the lives of citizens not merely in India but rest of the world. That is the leadership position which India must take in AI, and only India can do that. And not that you are doing innovation for the rich and famous, but you are doing innovation through AI to transform lives of citizens.
Mr. Khan, from a policy perspective, do you see us taking lead in those areas? Are we doing enough, or should we do more in that space?
No, so the AI mission of India will enable computing power to be provided to students and research institutions at almost, 50% the cost at which it is being provided in other parts of the world. So once you have
Mm.
computing power and you have huge amount of engineers available to you, these are the people who will do a lot of disruption through open source in the coming years, and that is
Correct.
what will happen. And India will be able to do path-breaking works. And
Yeah.
we'll build indigenous capabilities by supporting R&D institutions, startups, private sector. We should do scalable India-specific solutions. We should work in partnership with the private sector and academia, which will amplify resource allocation, knowledge exchange, and we should actually strengthen digital infrastructure such as high performance computing and cloud ecosystems. We should support our startups and innovators to accelerate AI adoption. And I think India is the only country which will be able to do it, and on which other parts of the world will have trust and faith in India.
Lovely. Um, we'll shift focus to G20 now. And one of the integral themes or central themes of the whole presidency was gender inclusion. What more needs to be done for bringing more women into economic and leadership mainstreams?
So that's again a very important question because India brought women led development center stage in G20. It was the most ambitious uh, agenda during India's G20. So two key things that India did was to make African Union a member, make G20 into
Yeah.
G21, and also drive women-led development. It was rightly placed at the heart of discussions on sustainable growth. It underscored that when women work, earn, and lead, entire nations prosper. And closing
Very
the
true.
gender gap in the workforce we said, was an economic imperative, and it really has the potential to add trillions of dollars to global GDP and to India's GDP. And while India has made remarkable progress in recent years, there's still much to be done across the world to bring women into economic and leadership mainstream. So I think what we were able to achieve was path breaking. We convinced the rest of the world. We brought consensus. We showed to them that India's female labor force participation ratio has seen a significant rise. We showed to them that rural women are driving much of India's growth. We showed to them that entrepreneurship has become a critical pathway. Women are doing extremely well, and government schemes like Mudra and Stand Up India schemes have all empowered women entrepreneurs, with women accounting for almost 70% of micro loans under Mudra and 84% of the loans under Stand Up India.
True, true. Um, Shifting focus to public private partnership now. I mean, from Startup India to ease of doing business, we spoke a lot about that through the last 30 years or 35 plus years of work that you have done. We have built momentum, great momentum, and that's to be seen in the world in the way the work is happening. Um, what more can be done in the public private partnership model, number one? And what have we learned about designing partnerships that truly scale and deliver impact?
So I've believed in two things. One is working with the best talent in the country, never work with second class people. Second
Hmm.
is work with the private sector. There is a huge transformative power of government when it works with private sector. I've also believed in free enterprise. I've always believed that there are too many rules, regulation which need to be scrapped. So, from the success of the Startup India initiative to structural reforms aimed at ease of doing business, or the Delhi Mumbai
Yeah.
corridor, or whatever I've done, Incredible India, Startup India, they've been successful because I had the ability to work with the private sector and bring in scalability and alignment with long-term
Yeah.
national goals. And one of the most illustrative example of this synergy is India's open source digital public infrastructure. The government built the foundational layers such as Aadhaar and UPI, the goods and services tax network. They provide a robust, scalable, and interoperable framework, but private sector players then leverage these platforms to innovate and create value added services. For instance, applications like Google Pay, Paytm, Phone Pay, Amazon Pay, they have revolutionized payments, driving financial inclusion and seamless digital transaction for millions. And this model of the government creating public good as infrastructure while allowing the private sector to compete and innovate truly has become a global case study in scalable PPPs. Production linked incentive is another great example where we leverage
Yeah.
private investment in sectors like electronics, IT hardware, mobile manufacturing. And PPPs are being driven through the industrial corridors where new corridors are being
Yeah.
made. And in addition, PPPs must address focus on skill development, vocational education. They must focus on creating, driving skill management, and also green energy has been highly successful because of private sector. So we should be able to not only boost productivity but also improve India's job creation, particularly female labor force participation rates, large with private-public partnership. So my view is always that PPPs require, they are the ones which will drive India's growth. If India is to go from 4 trillion to a 30 plus trillion dollar economy, private play, private players, free enterprise, they all have to play a very critical role. And the mindset of civil servants all has to change towards actually driving the private sector. And this has also, in some of India's champion states, particularly populous and research rich states like Bihar, Orissa, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh. It's a private public partnership, and more investment by the private sector, free enterprise, should lead to transformation of these states in terms of modernizing their economies.
Sure. We'll now shift focus to India 2047, something that Prime Minister Modi speaks a lot. You have done quite a lot of work in that space. And as someone who has shaped the national strategy for over 2 decades, what are three or four pillars you believe that will define India's economic and social future?
So, three things. One is that we must understand the challenge that we are trying to move from a 4 trillion to a 30 plus trillion-dollar economy, which means that your GDP has to grow 9 times, your per capita income has to grow 8 times, your
Mm,
manufacturing has
yeah.
to grow 16 times to realize the vision of Viksit Bharat. Now, this will not happen if we do not urbanize in a very, very
Mm,
sustainable manner. 500
mm,
million people will get into urbanization, so we must do it in a very sustainable manner. It will not happen without manufacturing becoming a key driver of India's growth. That means 25% of your GDP must come from manufacturing, and which would mean that you must get size and scale of manufacturing. And thirdly, it's very, very important to focus on exports. No country in the world, Japan, Korea, China, has grown without exports, and exports growing at a big rate. And therefore, exports will have to be a very, very key area. The fourth point I want to make is that this will not happen without a huge improvement in our learning outcomes, in our health outcomes, in our nutritional standards, particularly in the eastern part of India. And two other points I
mm.
would make. One is that we need champion states. We need 12 champion states to grow at high rates of 10% plus. Therefore, there has to be transformation in UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan. All these are states which have the potential to grow at 10% plus. And lastly, we need many more large companies in India. We need 10,000 large companies to make India grow at high rates for a long period of time. And I would also say that we need to get into cutting edge areas of growth, uh, AI,
Mm.
quantum computing, cybersecurity, semiconductor manufacturing. All these are very, very critical areas for India to grow over a long period of time. And therefore, my belief is that this is very much possible, this is very much doable. This is doable because our demographics are very young. We are doing a lot of work on infrastructure right now in terms of railways, in terms of roads. We have demonstrated a huge ability to deliver on solar energy, and we have also demonstrated a great ability to deliver on digital public infrastructure. But this would require India to fire on all cylinders. Agriculture
Yes.
productivity must go up, industry where share of manufacturing must go up, urbanization is very, very critical, and also the human development index component of it. All these have to combine together to make India grow at rates of 8 to 9% per annum, year after year, for 3 decades or more.
I come down to the last question, and I would say it's been pleasure speaking to you and learning from you on how had the growth happened over all of these years, and how we are where we are poised to become one of the largest countries, largest demographies taking over the vision of India 2047. But a lot owes, I mean, lot is on the shoulders of young individuals, professionals. Now, this would be including both people who are working currently or people who will be coming over to work in the next few years. What message do you have for these young professionals? Um, and it could include public leaders, civil servants, change makers, on what they could do differently to change India's future for better.
So, first thing I would say is that we need to be always positive, be optimistic, we should be forward looking, and secondly, we should be transformational always. Look at how we are going to transform India in the next uh, 10 years and work towards that in a very, very big way. And the third only point I would like to say is that we need to work in partnership with private sector and have a mind that free enterprise will enable India to grow. Government needs to be a facilitator, catalyst, but the private sector should generate all the wealth in India. That, to my mind, is very critical. The government must get out of many areas of where of businesses. So these are three areas, but I think remaining positive, optimistic, and futuristic is very, very critical.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Mr. Kant. Really appreciate you taking the time and speaking to me. Any parting thoughts for the audience listening in?
No, I would wish your audience all the best and a great future. They're living in a time when the world is getting transformed. We are seeing huge transformation in geopolitics. We are seeing transformation in disruption of supply chain. We are seeing disruption
Yes.
through new technology of artificial intelligence. There cannot be a more exciting time than this. And your viewers are very fortunate to be living in a time which is really a period of great transformation for the world.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate this, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this very special episode of the Career Shifts podcast. To have Mr. Kant with us, not just as a guest, but as a guide, has been an incredible honor. What he shared with us wasn't just a vision, it was a blueprint. It was a reminder of what's possible when policy meets purpose. The future isn't something that we inherit, it's something that we shape with imagination and intention. And of course, it all requires also bold action. And doing that takes more talent, it takes more clarity, more courage, and collective will. From digital public infrastructure to clean energy, from AI to the power of India's youth, this is India's moment. And as Mr. Kant reminded us, transformation doesn't wait. It belongs to those who stay curious, think big, and keep moving forward. If this episode sparked something in you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it. Start a conversation. Pass it on. Let's build a future that we are proud of together. Thank you for being part of this journey. 1 year down, many more questions to ask, many more guests to speak to, and many more shifts to come. This is the journey to the future. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Thank you.